What would your life look like if your every thought came true? Not the random fleeting ones, but the ones that live in your bones, the ones you repeat when no one's listening, the ones that echo in the silence of your sleepless nights, the ones that burn under your skin when the world tells you no. What if those thoughts, those obsessions were the blueprint of your future? Because they are. You become what you obsess over, not what you casually desire, not what you post on New Year's Day, not what you scribble in a notebook and forget by spring. Your obsession is your true religion, your altar, your offering, and your reward. You are not a victim of chance. You are not a pawn in someone else's game. You are the architect of your life, and the bricks you build with are your thoughts. And make no mistake, your dominant thoughts will shape you. Whether they are noble or destructive, brave or timid, empowered or enslaved, they do not discriminate. They obey. Just as water takes the shape of any container, your life takes the shape of your obsessions. So what's been living rent-free in your mind lately? Is it fear? Is it envy? Is it the success of others? The failures of your past? The opinions of strangers? Or is it something greater, something forged in fire and fed by purpose? See, obsession is not the enemy. Weak obsession is. Obsession is the seed of all greatness. But the kind of obsession that builds empires is not frantic or needy. It is devotional. It's not the scream of desperation. It's the quiet roar of purpose. It's not a scattered hunger for results. It's a focused, burning reverence for the process. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he hoped to. He didn't casually dabble in it when inspiration struck. No, he was possessed by it. He failed over 1,000 times, and when asked why he didn't quit, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Who thinks like that? Someone who is obsessed. Someone who wakes up and breathes invention. Someone whose identity is tied not to outcome, but to effort. That's the difference between the ordinary and the legendary. The average flirt with success, the extraordinary marry it. And you can't marry what you're too scared to pursue. The problem isn't that people dream too big. It's that they obsess too small. They obsess over what might go wrong, over who might leave, over the flaws in the mirror, over the missed opportunity, the job they didn't get, the love that broke them. They play the same sad movie in their mind, day after day, wondering why nothing changes, never realizing they're the director, the actor, and the critic all at once. But let me tell you something no one told you in school. The most powerful force in the world is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even knowledge. It's a mind laser-focused on one thing and willing to sacrifice for it. You think Andrew Carnegie built an empire just because he read books, he devoured them, he immersed himself in mentorship, strategy, vision. He woke up thinking about steel, he went to bed thinking about expansion. He became synonymous with his mission not just professionally but spiritually. And when Napoleon Hill asked him the secret behind all success, Carnegie said it plainly. Any idea that is held in the mind, that is emphasized, that is either feared or revered, will begin to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical forms available. In other words, what you obsess over, you become. So ask yourself, what do you revere? What idea has you waking up in the middle of the night with electricity in your veins? Because the truth is, we're all obsessed with something. Some people are obsessed with proving others wrong. Some are obsessed with never being abandoned again. Some are obsessed with power. Some with love. Some with revenge. And some, the rare ones, are obsessed with building something greater than themselves. You see it in their eyes, that unshakable gleam, the quiet fire, the refusal to waste a moment on noise. They walk into a room, and their energy speaks louder than their words. Because when you're truly obsessed with something meaningful, you don't need to scream. Your presence announces your focus. But obsession alone is not enough. If it's rooted in insecurity, it will destroy you. If it's rooted in vanity, it will consume you. But if it's rooted in clarity, it will elevate you beyond anything you thought possible. Clarity. Now that is where the floodgates open, because clarity kills hesitation. The man who knows exactly what he wants does not beg. He does not chase. He creates. Every second of delay, every moment spent scrolling, comparing, wondering, it all fades when you become possessed by purpose. You don't have time to hate on others when you're building something divine. You don't entertain doubt when your days are sculpted by intention. So how do you get clear? You listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the whisper that's been there since the beginning. The one that nudged you to pick up that pen, to launch that idea, to walk away from comfort, to dream like a lunatic even when the world said, be realistic. That whisper is your soul's obsession. It's been waiting for you to stop running. And when you finally honor it, when you lean into it fully, the world bends. Doors open that weren't even built yet. People show up. Resources appear. Not because magic exists, but because you become the magic. This is not New Age fluff. This is how every revolution began. Every renaissance, every masterpiece. A man or woman dared to obsess without shame, without apology, without pause. Michelangelo stared at marble and saw David. Walt Disney walked through a swamp and saw a kingdom. Elon Musk stared at the sky and saw Mars. Their obsessions were called delusions until they weren't. So if the world calls you crazy, smile, because the sane are not remembered. And the cautious do not build legacies. If your obsession is pure, if it is driven by love, by vision, by the burning ache to serve or to solve, then your path is sacred. It will not be easy. It will demand sacrifice. It will ask you to outgrow comfort, outlast rejection, and outperform your excuses. But that's the price of becoming you, the highest version. The one you see in flashes. The one you ignore when fear takes the mic. It's time to listen to that version and become possessed by the right things. The right vision. The right thoughts. The right obsession. Because in the end, your life will not be a reflection of your dreams. It will be a reflection of your dominant focus. So choose wisely. When Henry Ford first declared that he would create a car affordable for the common man, not just the wealthy elite, people laughed. Not because he was unintelligent, not because he lacked drive, but because no one else could see what he saw. That's what obsession does. It gives you vision in a world that worships sight. It trains you to believe before results, to act before applause, to commit when there's nothing but dust and disbelief around you. But that's the alchemy of the obsessed. They do not wait for permission. They declare. They plant their flag in the soil of the impossible and start building. And what most people call insanity, they call faith. When you are obsessed with a vision, you do not dabble, you decide. You burn the boats. You silence the backup plans. You stop playing tug of war with your potential and go all in. Because true obsession is not fragile. It does not break when doubted. It grows. It bends reality. It molds time. It eliminates excuses like shadows in the sun. Think about that for a second. How much of your energy is being leaked every day by indecision, by wondering, second-guessing, pivoting, comparing? Every time you look sideways at someone else's journey, you abandon your own. Every time you replay a past mistake, you're stealing from your future. Every time you say, I'll start when, you're handing your power to fear disguised as logic. But the obsessed don't wait for conditions. They create them. They don't need guarantees. They become the guarantee. And yes, people will call you intense. They'll say, you're too focused, too ambitious, too tunnel-visioned. Let them talk. Because the truth is, they don't understand. They haven't felt the fire. They haven't been consumed by a purpose so vivid, it paints itself behind your eyelids every night. They haven't stood at the edge of comfort and chosen the storm willingly because they know the storm is where gold is forged. Obsession is not about speed. It's not about hustle culture or wearing burnout like a badge of honor. That's noise. True obsession is sacred discipline. It's waking up each morning and aligning your thoughts like arrows. It's protecting your energy like treasure. It's saying no to 99 things so you can say yes to one thing that actually matters. And yes, it gets lonely. But loneliness is not the same as emptiness. Sometimes you have to walk alone to remember who you are without the world's opinions attached to your skin. Because if you don't get obsessed with your own mission, you'll end up being a pawn in someone else's to guide. You'll become a slave to the algorithms, the trends, the expectations. You'll trade legacy for likes, purpose for popularity, vision for validation. And that is the slowest death of all. But the moment you decide, truly decide, that your life belongs to a mission greater than your ego, you change. Your habits change. Your circle changes. Your identity evolves. And that version of you that once hesitated, once played small, they don't survive the fire of focus. Because there is no room for your old self in the world you're about to build. So stop treating your obsession like a side project. Stop negotiating with your destiny. No more waiting for motivation. No more blaming time, people, childhood, luck, economy, trends, Mercury in retrograde. Do you think Nelson Mandela waited for perfect conditions? Do you think Oprah waited for applause before she spoke her truth? Do you think Martin Luther King asked for permission before he dreamed in broad daylight? Number. They were possessed, not by ego, not by fame, but by service, by vision, by duty. That's the power of an obsession rooted in purpose. And let me tell you, when you align your obsession with something that serves beyond your own comfort, the world starts to conspire. The resistance doesn't vanish, but it becomes your gym. The obstacles don't disappear, but they become your training ground. Your obsession becomes your compass, and suddenly, even your pain makes sense. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start declaring, "This is preparing me." Even your losses feel like bricklayers. Every setback becomes a chisel, every sleepless night, a piece of the mosaic. Because when you're truly obsessed with your calling, even your scars look like purpose. And no, not everyone will understand you. But obsession is not about being understood. It's about understanding yourself so clearly that you no longer seek approval for being alive. That clarity, that fiery conviction is magnetic. And it's rare. Because most people are obsessed with avoiding pain, avoiding judgment, avoiding failure. So they stay small, not because they lack talent, but because they've never been taught how to channel their obsession into power. They've been told to be realistic, to aim low, to follow the manual written by people who stopped dreaming long ago. But the obsessed don't follow manuals. They write them. They rip the page, break the mold, defy the timeline. They're not interested in normal. They're obsessed with necessary, with authentic, with impactful. And that kind of obsession, it doesn't fade, it doesn't burn out, it evolves. Because it's not attached to outcome, it's married to mission. So if you find yourself tired, exhausted, doubting whether you have what it takes, remember this. You are not tired because you're broken. You're tired because you've been fighting battles that aren't yours. You've been obsessed with things that drain you instead of things that build you. You've been nurturing distractions instead of destiny. But now, you know. You know that your thoughts are blueprints, your emotions are fuel, and your obsession is the fire that either consumes you or creates you. You become what you obsess over. So choose wisely. There's a stillness that comes over you when you finally realize you've been the sculptor all along. The tools were always in your hands, not your bosses, not your parents, not society's. Yours. But for too long, you've been carving with dull blades, chiseling at a life that wasn't yours, following a path that someone else painted for you, because they told you obsession was dangerous. They told you to be balanced, to play it safe, to color inside the lines. But here's the truth, they never told you. Balance doesn't build monuments. Obsession does. Look at every great mind, every rebel who rewrote the rules. Balance wasn't what drove them. It was devotion. It was singularity of purpose. It was obsession so deep, so unshakable, that even time bent to their will. Steve Jobs didn't create Apple because he wanted work-life balance. He did it because he couldn't sleep knowing the world didn't have what he envisioned yet. Rosa Parks didn't stay seated on that bus because it was easy. She did it because something inside her refused to stay silent one more day. That's obsession. That's clarity. That's purpose boiling over and spilling into action. And here's the thing, when you live like that, when you burn like that, you scare people. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're free. Free from their expectations. Free from the invisible leash of mediocrity. Free from the fake smiles and empty goals and beige dreams that never kept anyone up at night. And freedom is terrifying to the imprisoned. So they'll try to tame your fire, water it down. Why are you working so hard? Why do you care so much? Why can't you just relax? Because relaxing is not your mission. Creating is, building is, awakening is. Your soul didn't come here to nap through life. It came to ignite. And the only way you do that is to lean into your obsession so completely that it becomes indistinguishable from who you are. When people look at you, they should feel it. In your tone, your habits, your walk, the fire in your eyes. They should know, this one's different. This one's not floating. This one is forging. And when it gets hard, and it will, that obsession becomes your anchor. Discipline alone won't always carry you. Motivation won't always show up. But obsession true, bone-deep obsession remains. When the lights go out, when the applause stops, when no one's watching, that's when it speaks the loudest. It says, we're not done yet. There's more inside. Don't stop here. You see, obsession isn't just about your goals. It's about your identity. It's about becoming the person who deserves the result. And that's where most people stumble. They want the outcome, but not the transformation. They want the success, but not the shedding of their old self. They want the next level, but they're too in love with the current version of who they are. But hear this. You can't take old habits into a new life. You can't think small and live big. You can't obsess over comfort and expect to break records. You can't gossip, procrastinate, scroll endlessly, and still believe that obsession will carry you to greatness. Because obsession requires alignment, thought, word, action, emotion, spirit, all flowing in the same direction like a raging river, not a scattered puddle. The greatest lie we've been sold is that greatness is complicated. It's not. It's simple, but not easy. It's about obsession channeled into clarity. Clarity expressed through discipline. Discipline repeated into mastery. Mastery multiplied into legacy. And it starts with one decision. What are you going to obsess over? Are you going to keep feeding your fears, feeding your doubt, feeding that tiny voice that says, who are you to think you could do this? Or are you going to starve your fears and feed the fire instead? You don't need 10 more podcasts. You don't need 5 more self-help books. You need to look in the mirror and choose. Choose to make obsession your ally. Choose to let go of the life you've outgrown. Choose to bet on the part of you that knows it was made for more, not someday, but now. You already have enough pain, enough delay, enough excuses. What you need is a target worth bleeding for, a mission worth losing sleep over, a vision that makes you stand up straighter, speak louder, act sharper. Because if you don't define your obsession, the world will define it for you. It will hand you distractions, guilt, consumption, fake dreams. It will give you screens and trends and noise, and it will rob you blind. Not of your money, but of your soul. So no more waiting. No more pretending you're okay with average. No more sedating your ambition just to fit in. If it's burning, let it burn. If it's calling, answer. If it's terrifying, move toward it, not away. Because the things you're most afraid to go after are usually the things you were born to do. That's the paradox of purpose. It's hidden behind your greatest resistance. But once you walk through that wall, once you choose to obsess with honor instead of shame, you awaken something ancient, something unstoppable. You stop playing small. You stop playing victim. You stop asking for permission to shine. And you rise not as someone who wants something, but as someone who has become the thing they once longed for. You become the vision. You become the movement. You become the proof. Because in the end, you become what you obsess over. So choose boldly. Choose bravely. Choose now. Let this be the moment you never forget. Not because it was flashy. Not because it gave you easy answers. But because something in you shifted. Something inside you woke up. That quiet part of your soul that always knew you weren't born for the sidelines. You weren't made for shallow waters. You weren't designed to live on autopilot, drifting, scrolling, waiting for a sign. This is the sign. The rest of the world may still be asleep, but you are not. You are awake now. You can feel it in your chest. That restless hunger, that sacred fire, that whisper that's becoming a roar. And it's telling you, with a voice louder than fear, louder than doubt, louder than your past, you are the author. You are the fire starter. You are the force they never saw coming. No more small talk. No more self-betrayal. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. You've spent enough time watching. It's time to build. And not from luck, not from shortcuts, from clarity, from conviction, from a truth so unshakable it doesn't ask for the world to move, it commands it. You see, when a human being becomes fully aligned, when their thoughts, words, actions, and energy all orbit the same obsession, they become a phenomenon, not just successful, unstoppable. Because the universe does not respond to hesitation, it responds to dominance, not over others, but over yourself, over your habits, your urges, your distractions, your fears. And that's the war you must now win, not out there, but in here. You want transformation? Then burn the identity that clings to average. Bury the excuses in silence and resurrect a version of you that's been waiting, starving to breathe. You don't need more time. You don't need more luck. You don't need another guru, another trend, another hack. You need obsession. Pure, grounded, soul-forged obsession. The kind that doesn't make sense to the crowd. The kind that silences the noise. The kind that moves with or without applause. Obsession with growth. Obsession with mastery. Obsession with becoming the one who doesn't flinch when life hits back. And life will hit back. There will be days when no one believes in you, when your progress feels invisible, when every door slams shut and your own voice trembles. And it is in those days that obsession becomes your oxygen. It is in those days that your vision has to be louder than your emotions. You don't climb mountains on adrenaline. You climb them on obsession. One deliberate step after another. 1 hour. One decision. One repetition at a time. And when your body says enough, obsession says again. When the critics speak louder, obsession drowns them in silence. When your old life calls you back into comfort, obsession reminds you what comfort costs. This is the mindset that legends are built on. This is the obsession that reshapes worlds. So look around one last time. Look at the life you've tolerated, the excuses you've rehearsed, the dreams you've postponed. Then decide. Decide to outgrow your past. Decide to outwork your shadow. Decide to become obsessed with something so powerful, so pure, so personal, that it rewires your very existence. And when you do, when you commit fully, life will respond. Not immediately, not without resistance, but it will bend. It will test you, yes, it will press you, but it will also reveal to you the iron within your spirit, the genius within your chaos, the treasure within your trials. Because this is more than success. This is awakening. This is remembering what the world made you forget. That you are not average. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are simply unleashing. So don't you dare walk away from this fire now. Don't you dare go back to normal. That version of you, that smaller self, they're gone. What stands in their place now is a soul reborn in purpose. a warrior sculpted by obsession, a leader no longer waiting for the right moment because this is the moment. And this time, you choose. You choose what gets your energy. You choose what gets your loyalty. You choose what gets to define you. Because you become what you obsess over. So choose wisely.